Hey guys, it's Erin here. And I wanted to do a recap of our classes. That way, during the week, you can kind of go back and look at the highlights from class and maybe practice some of these poses that you have learned because I know I give you a lot to think about every class, and this just gives you a way to kind of go back and hit those big points that we're trying to make. So, in our first class, we talked about what yoga is. And our big pose was our downward dog pose, but I actually taught you a lot of other poses during that class, and I want to kind of go back and hit some of those. So we're going to go into a tabletop. In our tabletop, we're on our hands and our knees. Our wrists are right underneath our shoulders. Our knees are right under our hips. And we've got enough space in between our hands and our knees that we've got a flat back. So we're not overextended so that we're dipping down, and we're not too far in so that we're crunched up. So finding a nice, sturdy tabletop. If you've got knee problems, this would be a good place for a blanket. You can unfold your blanket, put it across your mat, and have a little extra cushion for your knees here. In our tabletop, we learn cat and cow. So cat and cow is a pose that you do in almost every class because it feels fantastic and it really loosens up your spine. So in our tabletop, pressing down through your palms. As you inhale, you're going to lower your belly, lifting your hips. Your belly lowers, your hips lift, and your gaze lifts. So your chest is lifted, your hips are lifted, your belly lowers, so your spine is curving down. And then as we exhale, we lift our spine, tucking in our chin and tucking in our hips. So now our hips are pulling in, our chin is tucking into our chest, and our spine is headed up to the ceiling. So now we're extending our spine. And then as we inhale, we lower our spine. So you can go through these cats and cows at your own breath, inhaling, filling your chest, filling your abdominal cavity, opening up, exhaling, you're crunching everything in and letting it go. So that's two, tabletop, cat and cow. Let's go from here to a child's pose. So this is a good resting pose. If you ever get overwhelmed or you need a break in class, you can always come into a child's pose. We're going to take our big toes and tuck them together, open up our knees just slightly, sink back onto our heels, extend your hands forward, let your head hang heavy. So you can do a lot of things in child's pose. You can make it more active by reaching forward. You can shift side to side. You can put all kinds of variations on a child's pose, but just a basic child's pose, hands extended and just passively relaxing down. So this is a good place to take a break, catch your breath, take pressure off of your knees, take pressure off of your wrists. And then we're also going to go review a downward dog. So our downward dog was our peak pose for class 1. From our tabletop, we're going to put our toes down on the mat. So we're going to tuck our toes down. Spread your fingers wide, gripping with your fingertips, using your whole hand. We're going to press into our palms and we're going to start to lift our knees and straighten our legs. So we're going to press down through our hands, pressing into our toes, lifting our knees, sending our hips up and back as we're straightening our legs. And you can think about your heels, pulling your hips and your heels backwards towards the back of the room as far as they'll go, and then pulling your heels down towards the mat. So downward dog, you're pressing through your hands, your chest is pulling back towards the top of your legs, your hips are pressing back towards the back of the room. You're also lifting your hips towards the sky as you're pulling your heels down. So you got a lot of stuff going on here. And then we'll exhale and come back into tabletop. So here's a little flow that you can do at home. It's really quick and it really loosens you up and it'll help you practice all of these moves. So we'll come into a tabletop, inhale into cow, exhale into cat, come back to neutral, Untuck your toes, press up into a downward dog. Exhale. Inhale, come back into a tabletop. Tuck your toes, sink back, child's pose. Inhale, come back into a tabletop. Take a breath here. Then we'll inhale into cow. Exhale into cat. Come back to neutral. Tuck your toes, lift up, downward dog. Pressing up and back. Shifting back to our tabletop. Toes together, sink back, child's pose. So that's a little flow that you can try that'll hit all of those moves. And I will see you for our class 2 for Warrior 2, where we're going to go over standing strength. Have a great day.